Okay, first of all, peace and black power. And contrary to what the individual who is the subject of this video thinks, black is not a skin condition. It's also not a state of mind in the sense that you mean. We are not in darkness. We are actually in the light of understanding, of intelligence, right? The fact that you have this European or Eurocentric perspective on what black is only means that you are thinking like a European. The title of your video, or I guess it's 4 videos, is Black versus African American or African American versus African, right? As if there's such a thing as an African, right? That's your Eurocentric perspective once again. The Europeans are the ones who consider you African. The Europeans are the ones who name that continent Africa. The blacks over there did not name that continent Africa. First of all, the blacks over there didn't run around thinking they could own trees and own rivers and own mountains. Okay? So now, this is a European mentality. Um, in having that European mentality, you are attempting to apply that retroactively to the people on that continent when in your video you cite examples of supposed misconstruences of Africa and Africans by so-called African Americans or blacks. You say that we are black because we don't know our tribal affiliations. We know our tribal affiliations. We know that we were betrayed and traded for trinkets and rum by people who you think are Africans, right? We know that. We know that no boatload of Europeans landed on the coast of Africa and marched into the interior and marched out with our people. We know that, right? So if you want to start somewhere, I think you should start where the trading happened at. That's trader with a T and trader with a D, okay? Because you cats were traders and you cats were traders. Now, let's just keep it straight and keep it honest, okay? Now, straight and honest, um, there is no such thing as an African. That is a European misunderstanding of the people who they encountered on the continent that they called Africa. Now, consider when you talk to your parents, you say that your parents are from Indo State or whatever, and they are Yoruba in culture. Yorubas don't think of themselves as Africans, they think of themselves as Yorubas. Igbos don't think of themselves as Africans, they think of themselves as Igbos. Now, when they deal with individuals who are not from there, like from Europe, or in this case from the United States of America, they may in encountering individuals whom they feel do not understand identify themselves as Africans. But you will never hear someone from, say, Nigeria and someone from Senegal identify themselves to themselves as African. That's just ridiculous. Stop the bullshit. Number two, um, you'll have, due to the thickness of the propaganda in this society, you'll have individuals distance themselves from black, distance themselves from African, distance themselves from you. You are too dark. They will let you know. They won't directly say it, but their actions, their preferences will say it. a lot of individuals with your hue who come here from Africa hang out with white people, have white wives, white women. They prefer them. I constantly encounter individuals whom I check about it, about their Eurocentric perspectives of beauty and their Eurocentric preferences of companionship. I have people tell me that they prefer white people. I mean, I, I get into all kind of candid conversations with individuals because I'm direct and I'm unabashedly honest. Um, the fact that you are confused is not your fault. It's actually your parents' fault because their lack of understanding as to what is really going on only means that they imparted that lack of understanding to you. You think that people who you encounter here who look like me and look like you say that they're not Africans because they hate Africa. No, that's not the issue. We don't hate Africa. We came from Africa. We understand that. But at the same time, we understand that the politics of the day in that time allowed so called Africans to betray our ancestors. So you have some of us who have some degree of understanding who regard Africa as the place of the betrayal. Now you have others of us who regard Africa as the birthplace and the motherland, and they look to Africa and they look to African culture as something to be honored and treasured. Me, it's just another culture on the planet. Now, in saying that I'm not African, that doesn't mean that I'm not identifying with the people on the continent of Africa. I mean, look at me. You don't see me trying to disguise myself. You don't see a nose job with a straight nose. You see these beautiful, luscious lips that I have and this exquisite skin tone. And it's brown. And my hair is brown. And my eyes are brown. And my skin is brown. And I'm not colored. And I'm not a man of color. That's some bullshit. Those are Europeans. That's part of the trick. They have you thinking that you are of color when in fact they are the colored people. They have blonde hair, blue eyes, pink skin, and red lips. They have red hair and green eyes, pink skin, and red lips. Those are colored people with hazel eyes and brown eyes and chestnut hair. And you understand? That's what colored is. If you open a box of crayons and you only have brown crayons, you're not going to have a lot of fun. You can only make black people. But if you have all of the colors, you can make white people, right? You can make the rainbow. So let's just get that straight. Now, once again, the propaganda in this society is extremely thick. It's intense. It has people who look like you and me distancing themselves from people who look like you and me, distancing themselves from people whose culture originates in places where the people look like you and I. You really have to understand that this is social, political, and economic propaganda. This is resource based hatred. They don't hate you. They just hate the fact that you're sitting on that land with the diamonds and the gold and the oil and the cobalt and the uranium and arable land. They hate the fact that you're sitting on it. They want it. So they just can't just tell you, hey, get the off the land. They got to come up with a reason, with an excuse to attack you. Okay? So let's just keep that straight. This is where this is coming from. This is the root of the problem. The root of the problem is greed. And that greed was brought to the table by Europeans who have capitalistic designs, right? Now, it's perpetuated by the ignorance of individuals who have no knowledge. Those individuals with no knowledge are inadvertently spreading falsehoods and half truths. Okay? So, when we, intelligent people, tell you that we are not Africans, we're saying that, wait a minute now, that's an invention of Europeans. Okay? They named the continent. They petitioned that continent in, I think, 1848. Now, you had various European nations there naming countries, like the country your parents come from. Nigeria is not a real country. That's why you have 200 different ethnic groups there. That's where they was collecting the people before they shipped them off all over the world, right? So Nigeria is not a real country. Niger is not a real country. Sierra Leone is not a real country. Liberia is not a real country. Those are countries made up by Europeans. South Africa is not a real country. Namibia is not a real country. They took Rhodesia and made Zimbabwe. It was the Zimbabwe region prior to being northern and southern Rhodesia. You understand? Rhodesia, Cecil Rhodes, that's a white man. How you get the name of a white man as a country? What you need is some real information and a real conversation. My name is Brother Larry, and I'm available. You can check me at L James 418 on YouTube, or Larry Finney on Facebook. I'm available. In fact, somebody's hitting me up now. Peace and black power. Not that European black, cause that's whack. This is the other black. The kind that comes from the dark matter of the universe, that has always been, that will always be. That when you look out into the night sky and you see the space between the stars, that kind of black. Peace.